The London 2012 Olympic and Paralympic Games were an amazing event that drew the eyes of the world to this spot in East London.
We had three main goals when we set out, when we were working on designing the park. And that was to ensure that it would work for an Olympic Games, that it would work for a Paralympic Games, but we always had an eye to legacy. It was important that local people felt they owned the park, and also that the park could be used by everyone.
The park has many features that, although not immediately obvious, have been very carefully designed and implemented in a way that makes an incredible difference to many people's lives.
The impact has been that for many people using the park, they just find it an easier place to be. It's not obvious to them why it's an easier place to be, but it has been designed to be inclusive, to work for everyone.
The sense of freedom that I get from here, it just makes me able to, just come here and on my own, not have to plan anything, and that gives me the feeling of independence.
I think the most obvious thing is everybody in the country and a huge number of people around the world saw the Olympic Park during the Olympic and Paralympic Games. It shows what can be done, and you've got a really practical example then about the benefits of inclusive design that everyone can come and see, and an ongoing project. That's really what we're trying to do. Get this to be business as usual, so that every building is accessible and every environment is accessible. That's the end goal, and education is how we're going to get there.
Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park will always be associated with the most successful Paralympic Games in history. Changing attitudes towards disability and disabled people is really important, and there's no doubt the success of the Paralympics contributed hugely to this. But education should also bring about a shift in attitudes and ensure that our built environment professionals understand why inclusive design is so important.
And what we're now trying to do in Legacy, in both the Queen Elizabeth Olympic Park and in the surrounding area, is to encourage new ways of thinking about accessibility and inclusion, creating spaces and places that work equally well for all. So for example, in Hackney Wick, we're trying to apply the same principle, in this case to older and pre-existing buildings such as warehouses, so that everyone can access the same services in the same way equally.
Achieving accessibility and an inclusive design should be an integral part of any design process. It is essential to achieve equality and meet the needs of all end users. However, even today, this is not always delivered. That's why it's crucial that today's educators and professional institutions understand the importance of an inclusive design and ensure that tomorrow's practitioners appreciate and understand the difference an inclusive design can have on people's lives when applied correctly.